Imagine standing in line for 3 hours. Not for concert tickets, not for a new gadget, for toilet paper. And you're one of the lucky ones, because you heard a rumor the store might actually have some today. This was Tuesday in the Soviet Union, and Wednesday. And most days ending in Y the 1980s in the USSR existed in this strange twilight zone. On paper, the country possessed enough nuclear warheads to vaporize the planet several times over. Soviet cosmonauts floated in space. The Olympic boycotts proved the world took them seriously as a superpower. But back on Earth, in apartment blocks from Leningrad to Vladivostok, ordinary people played a daily survival game that would baffle anyone from the West. Today, we're stepping through time. Into kitchens that doubled as confession booths. Into stores with nothing on the shelves. Into a world where everyone pretended everything was fine, while whispering the truth after midnight. A typical Soviet morning in 1985 began around 6. Not because people wanted to wake up that early, they had no choice. The communal apartment, the Kommunalka, meant sharing a bathroom with 4, sometimes 7 other families. Miss your window, and you'd be brushing your teeth in the kitchen sink while Babushka Vera fried her eggs 3 feet away. Privacy didn't exist as a concept. Your neighbors knew when you came home. They knew who visited. Some of them reported these details, though you never knew which ones. Breakfast was simple. Black bread with butter if you had it. Tea, always tea, brewed strong enough to wake the dead. Maybe some kasha buckwheat porridge that tasted like cardboard but kept you full until lunch. The radio crackled state news. Production quotas exceeded. American imperialism condemned. Weather forecast. Always in that order. Children dressed in school uniforms, brown dresses for girls, dark suits for boys. Everyone wore the red pioneer scarf until age 14. You didn't question this. You didn't question anything out loud. Shopping in the Soviet Union required skills that would make a Wall Street trader weep with envy. First, you needed information. The Soviet economy didn't advertise. Goods simply appeared, randomly, mysteriously, often absurdly. Word spread through networks that moved faster than any official channel. They have oranges at gastronom number 4. That sentence could empty an office building in seconds. People carried just-in-case bags everywhere. You never knew when you'd stumble onto something worth buying. Saw a line forming? You joined it first, asked questions later. Whatever they had, you probably needed it. Or knew someone who did. Money meant almost nothing. The real currency was connections, Blat, they called it. Your cousin worked at a meat processing plant. Suddenly your family ate better than a general. Your neighbor's brother-in-law managed a shoe factory. Your kids wore actual leather instead of plastic. The stores themselves felt like museums of disappointment. Shelves displayed the same jars of pickled cabbage for months. Canned fish, mysterious meat products nobody trusted. Meanwhile, the back rooms held the good stuff, reserved for those with the right connections, the right bribes, the right party membership. Western goods achieved mythical status. A pair of Levi's jeans could cost 3 months' salary on the black market. Marlboro cigarettes opened doors that official documents couldn't. The Soviet workplace operated on a beautiful lie that everyone understood. We pretend to work, and they pretend to pay us. This wasn't cynicism. This was the employment contract, unwritten but universally accepted. Official salaries remained almost identical across professions. A brain surgeon earned roughly what a factory worker made. So why kill yourself? The real income came from side hustles, favors, and creative interpretation of socialist property. Factories produced quotas of goods that nobody wanted. Managers falsified reports that everyone knew were false. Party officials approved the false reports because their reports depended on them. The whole system ran on institutionalized pretending. But here's what outsiders never understood. Within this absurdity, people built genuine lives. The workplace provided community. The trade union offered vacation vouchers to the Black Sea. The factory had a cultural center with movie screenings, dance nights, amateur theater. After work, men gathered in courtyards to play dominoes and chess. They drank vodka from shared glasses and complained about their wives, their bosses, their country, in that careful way that stopped just short of anything that could be reported. Women carried the heavier burden. 8 hours at the factory, then 3 hours in shopping lines, then cooking, cleaning, managing the household. The Soviet woman was officially liberated. In practice, she worked double shifts without the title. What did people do for fun in a country where fun was technically scheduled by the state? They found ways. They always found ways. Television offered 2 channels, sometimes 3 if you lived in a major city. Programming included gymnastics, educational documentaries, agricultural reports, and the news, always the news. Once a week, maybe a decent film. Usually war movies about defeating the Germans again, but Soviet apartments held secrets. By the mid-80s, VCRs had begun trickling through unofficial channels. Neighbors gathered in darkened rooms to watch smuggled copies of American action films. Rambo, ironically enough, became a Soviet underground sensation. Music existed in 2 parallel universes. Official music featured state-approved pop stars singing about friendship, labor, and peace. Underground music lived on Magnitizdat. Bootleg tape recordings passed hand to hand until the quality degraded into beautiful static. Viktor Tsoi and his band Kino became the voice of a generation through tapes that technically didn't exist. Vysotsky's gravelly ballads played at every kitchen gathering, even years after his death. The kitchen, always the kitchen. Somehow, this tiny room became the only free space in a controlled society. Friends crowded around small tables, drinking tea or something stronger, talking through the night about life, love, art, and all the things that couldn't be said in daylight. Foreign radio stations like Voice of America and BBC Russian service provided windows to another world. People listened with the volume low, pretending they weren't listening, learning English phrases that would never be useful in their daily lives. By 1985, everything started shifting. Gorbachev appeared on television looking different, younger, speaking in complete sentences instead of mumbling from notes. Glasnost arrived like spring after decades of winter. Suddenly, newspapers printed criticism, actual criticism. People read these articles multiple times, convinced they'd misunderstood. Chernobyl happened in 1986, and the old reflexes kicked in: denial, minimization, state secrets. But this time, people noticed the gap between official statements and radiation measurements. The lie couldn't hold. Perestroika promised economic reform. Lines got longer, shelves got emptier. The joke went, what did socialism accomplish? The impossible. It made meat a vegetable. Nobody knew it yet, but they were living in the final years. The empire that seemed eternal, unquestionable, carved in concrete. It had maybe 5 years left. In apartments across 11 time zones, people continued their routines. Standing in line, sharing kitchens, whispering in the dark, pretending tomorrow would be like yesterday. The Soviet Union of the 1980s wasn't just a political system. It was a complete reality, with its own logic, its own humor, its own ways of being human under impossible conditions. The people who lived through it remember the absurdity. They remember the fear. But they also remember the friendships forged in those cramped kitchens. The creativity born from scarcity. The dark laughter that made survival possible. When the wall finally fell, a world disappeared overnight. Not just a government, an entire way of existing. If you lived it, you never really left. And if you didn't, you can never fully understand. But maybe walking through these memories together, we got a little closer.